Unlike the other Frozen graphic novels, Frozen Adventures Flurries of Fun doesn't have a running story. It's just a collection of short, unrelated comics. About 20 of the comics are 10 pages long, about 30 of them are 1 to 2 pages long. These comics are recycled from the Frozen magazine and the Frozen comic book series. It doesn't surprise me that Disney had enough miscellaneous Frozen comics that there was enough material to make a 240-page book. Wait, scratch that. 3 240-page books! In comparison, the other Frozen graphic novels are 60 to 70 pages long. So there's a lot more material in this book. I really like that. I don't care if it's reused material, it's all new to me. Anna and Elsa are in every comic except one or two. Olaf and Kristoff show up a lot. The trolls Oaken and Marshmallow show up less often. Hans shows up never. I understand why he's not in any of the Frozen graphic novels, but I would love to see Hans reappear someday. I'll briefly discuss all of the longer comics. I won't discuss the ones that were one-page joke comics. They were okay. Some of them are so low-key, they barely register as jokes. Like, Anna wakes up with messy hair, Elsa needs to brush her hair. That's it, that's the joke. She needs to brush her hair. Ha ha ha. My favorite of the short comics is Kristoff. He does a lot of preparation for a big speech, which is only 3 words long. Good job, Kristoff. The first story is the longest, and one of the worst in my opinion. It's too aimless for me. It takes a while before any of the Frozen characters appear. There's a family that temporarily moves to Arendelle because their town is in danger of flooding. Anna tries to help the kids adjust to a new life, and Elsa uses her magic to fight a mudslide. Next is a comic with the same basic story as Frozen Across the Sea. The sisters sail to a town where they see the Duke of Wesselton. It's so hot the Duke has opened up his jacket. It was uncomfortable to see him partially unclothed. He is grumpy as Elsa makes a snowstorm to the joy of the villagers. Next, Elsa uses her ice powers while sailing. This story was taken directly from the third Anna and Elsa book. They don't give any credit to that book, which seems unfair. Next, Anna and friends try to drum up new business for Oaken with a lot of posters. Next, Kristoff's buddy is in a reindeer racing competition. This was written before Frozen 2, but Frozen 2 has the exact same joke that Kristoff's best friend is a mountain man who also talks to reindeer. A villain sabotages the competition, and Kristoff has to race in his buddy's place. Next, they discover a hidden passageway in the castle that goes under the lake. It leads to a shop. It was surprisingly similar to the 2019 book Forest of Shadows, but I think that's just a coincidence. Next, Anna gets up early to prepare for a trip. She does all sorts of things to prep, and when the trip starts, she's so exhausted she falls asleep. Everyone laughs at her. This felt like it should have been a 2-page story, not a 10-page story. Next, Anna and Elsa visit a bakery. This story was taken directly from the first Anna and Elsa book, and they actually do give credit to the book for the story, unlike the other reused material. When I read that book, I thought the cake chapter was out of place. If it was originally supposed to be a standalone comic, that would explain a lot. Next, a 2-part story where Anna follows an old treasure map to find a treasure that Elsa and Mom hid years ago. I liked it, but again, it reminds me of a different Frozen story. There's a graphic novel where Anna and Elsa follow Mom's old treasure map. The 2 stories have such a similar premise, it would be hard for them not to resemble each other. Next, Olaf accidentally causes chaos at the market when chasing a bee. This was 4 pages. It felt like a 2-page comic that was doubled for some reason. Next, our heroes climb up a hill. Olaf and Sven look for them on another hill, so our heroes go to the second hill to save them, and then we end with a joke about going up the hill again. Haha. Next, 2 villagers get into a fight over whether firewood should be face up or face down. That is a pointless argument. Olaf tries to help, and he uses the firewood to make a picture of a bee. For some reason. Next, Elsa accidentally double books herself. She's supposed to meet foreign dignitaries on Anna's skating day. Anna moves the skating party to the ice castle, and the foreigners love it. Next, they have to move Oaken's luggage. There's so much luggage, it's hard to balance it all. Next, Kristoff goes camping with Olaf. They tell ghost stories when something steals their food. Is it a ghost? They follow the tracks through a storm to discover it's a moose. I like this story, probably because it's the only one with just the male characters. Next, there's an invention competition. Oaken's fancy machine is accidentally destroyed. Everyone works together to repair it, so everyone gets first place in the competition. Next, Elsa makes snowflake sculptures for Anna's birthday, just like she did when Anna was little. I thought that story was pretty weak. It didn't really have much of a storyline. Next, Oaken wants them to test out his alarm clock. It malfunctions and won't stop shouting, hoo-hoo, hoo-hoo, which annoys everyone. Next, Olaf tries out a number of different pastimes. He decides spending time with friends is the best pastime. Next, there's a heavy storm at sea. Our heroes struggle through the storm to save a dolphin that's tied up. The extended heavy action sequence made the story feel a little out of place. Next, Kristoff goes to school to teach kids what ice harvesting is like. He's a total failure until Elsa freezes a lake, so Kristoff can show the kids what ice harvesting's like. Next, Kristoff left behind a series of puzzle clues for the sisters. They try to figure out what it means. Turns out it's not supposed to be a puzzle. Sven messed up Kristoff's note by accident. Next, Olaf and Sven try to scare baby trolls. They fall into mud by accident, which scares the trolls for real. Next, Kristoff sings Sven a lullaby. Everyone nearby falls asleep. Ha ha, sleeping. In the last story, they brave a snowstorm to deliver food in the mountains. That's where the cover picture comes from. Overall, I like the graphic novel. The comics are pretty good. They weren't all a success, but there's so many of them, the bad ones don't stand out as much. It's about 3 to 4 times as long as the other graphic novels, like I said. I'm amazed they decided to make 3 longer graphic novels out of the miscellaneous Frozen comics, instead of making 10 shorter graphic novels. If they did separate these out into a bunch of shorter books, I'd probably be far more inclined to judge them harshly for their faults. As it is, I was pleasantly surprised to come across this after reading the other Frozen graphic novels. I'm looking forward to seeing the other Frozen Adventures graphic novels. I give Frozen Adventures Flurries of Fun a thumbs up.